My parents' situation was absolutely unbelievable. My dad was ill. My dad had health issues, and we knew he didn't have long. But when he passed in the hospital, within 5-10 minutes, my mom has a heart attack, massive heart attack, and they call it dying of a broken heart.
Wow.
Life throws stuff at you, and you never know when it's coming. I really believe that my football background, the feeling of losing an important game, or the one that made the big mistake, and having to deal with that and bounce back, I think that prepares you for life. It really does.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Welcome to Health is Wealth. I'm Dr. Myron Rolle. Today we're joined by legendary quarterback and advocate, Doug Flutie. From being labeled too small at 5'9", he won the 1984 Heisman at Boston College and went on to a 21-year pro career across the NFL, USFL, and CFL. But his impact extends beyond the field. Inspired by his son, Doug Jr., today he's a passionate advocate for the autism community. Before he joins us, here's a closer look at our guest, Doug Flutie.
My name's Doug Flutie. I'm from Natick, Massachusetts. As a child, I was very shy, quiet. In fact, my second grade teacher didn't even know I was in her class when my mom went to parent-teacher conference because I was so quiet. On the athletic fields was where I expressed myself, and I was most comfortable. I loved football, and I was very good at it, but I always thought basketball was my sport. I really did, but I thought my height would hurt me more in football, and I'd be playing basketball, but the Division I offer wound up being in football. I think more than anything, being labeled being too small motivated me on a daily basis. You need something, whether it's money, whether it's family, whatever it is, that motivates you on a daily basis to get up, get out of bed, and get better that day and work.
Doug, thank you so much for being on Health is Wealth, brother. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
Yes, sir. You know, our story goes back a couple weeks. As you were on the plane from Orlando with Johnny Damon, go to play some golf in the Bahamas, and my wife and I were sitting next to you randomly, and we got to talking, and you know, you're such a pleasant guy, man. And my wife had no idea who you were. And I was like, that's Doug Flutie. And she was like, you're just a nice guy. I was like, so no, I appreciate you being here.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Yeah, you're showing me surgery pictures, and I'm like cringing. Because I just had a knee replacement not long ago, and I don't want to see the footage. I don't want to know. Show me just show me the result.
That's awesome, man. Well,
amazing stuff.
I want to take our viewers and our audience to your origins and your beginning. You grew up between Maryland and Massachusetts. Tell me about what that experience was like, who or what kind of shaped your mindset and love for sports early on in your life.
I think it started, I was born in Maryland. We moved to Florida for a while, and when I got to Boston, I was 13. But my little league ages, 9 to 10, 12 years old, my parents were really taking part in it. They were there. My dad coached the Little League team. My mom ran the concession stand. My older brother was the one that brought home the papers to sign up for Little League. And it was a family thing. And my dad was kind of the role model, and he took charge of, my mom was actually the athlete of the family.
Oh, nice.
My dad was kind of had the drive and the discipline thing with us. So it was a way of life. We didn't have money, we didn't have a lot of stuff, but we loved to be outdoors. We loved to play. And he kind of set the bar for us. I always go back to saying it was just, my parents were always there for us, and that got us going into sports.
Yeah, that's awesome. In high school, you were an all-league standout in multiple sports. What made football sort of stand out for you?
I always say this, that football kind of chose me. I loved basketball.
Okay.
I was good at basketball, good at football. I was mediocre at baseball. In football, I had more control of the game as a quarterback. I mentally was kind of ahead of the game as far as situational stuff and all that. And I was just at home on a football field. But I always thought my height would hurt me more in football than I thought basketball. I could at least be a point guard and distribute the ball, hit some shots, whatever. But the opportunity for a D1 scholarship came in football. And it was mostly like Ivy League and 1AA schools recruiting me. And then real late, for different reasons, Boston College offered me, and I wanted a D1.
Yeah.
So I went.
Yeah, that's awesome. Tell me what you think about the current young athletes now. You played multiple sports. You talk about baseball, basketball, football. Every season you're doing something. You're active. You have these kids now who are just playing one sport in the off season, lifting or doing some like plyometric stuff and sports specific training for that one sport. What's your thoughts on that today?
It is amazing. I mean, the athletes are absolutely amazing. I played a flag football game last night and saw just the way guys jump and move and the speed, the strength. It's all amazing as far as the workout programs, nutrition, and everything, gearing it that way. But I loved playing three sports. I think things cross over. I would rather my starting quarterback that's going to be a leader of my team, I'd rather him be on the foul line and on the basketball court finding a way to win and showing his leadership on the court and being a competitive guy. I'd rather him be doing that than working out in the weight room.
Yeah.
During those winter months, or being on the mound trying to close out a ninth inning game, or getting a base hit in a pressure situation. I want him in as many pressure situations as possible. I think the crossover from sport to sport teaches you something, whether it's athletic. I always thought my change of direction came from playing so much basketball, not football.
Nice.
And that help me on the football field.
Yeah.
I think it's burnout for these kids play, AAU, travel teams, and by the time they're 15 years old, they're burnt out with the one sport.
Yeah, definitely.
I love the change up.
Yeah, that's awesome. My first football scholarship offer was from Bob Stoops in Oklahoma, and I didn't commit there. I was a junior. Obviously, I went on to play at Florida State, like we talked about. As soon as you saw me in the plane with all my Florida State gear, you were like, "Oh, you're a Seminole?" I was like, yeah, for sure. But I remember Bob Stoops telling me something specifically. He says, "I love to recruit players who play multiple sports because same thing you were saying, the pressure, the ability to use different muscles in different sports." He never came to watch me play football in high school. He came to my basketball game. And like my student section was going crazy, like, "Bob Stoops is here," and they were going crazy. And I was like, he's watching me play basketball. I only had like 7 points, 11 rebounds, but I wanted him to watch me play football. But him emphasizing that other sport was his way of telling me that, I love to see you being active and doing different things. So absolutely what you're saying.
And he sees your interaction with your teammates, even more so in basketball. Basketball is a really good measure of athleticism too. You can see it. But also, you're watching how you handle the guys on the bench when you come over at a timeout, or you're attentive to a coach. All those things are what coaches are looking for in a player. And from a player standpoint, the crossover skills are invaluable. I really believe that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you talked about going to BC. Looking back at your time at BC, got to talk about that famous 1984 Hail Mary. What does that moment mean to you personally and even professionally?
I would say this, we had a great 4-year run at BC, and you do all these things, right? And we culminated with winning the Heisman, everything. But people will forget, and they move on, and you go on your next part of your career, and then you retire, and they're on to the next. At least I have a moment, right? I have this moment that people actually do remember. And you know what? Every time they show the highlight, Gerard catches it again.
He catches it again.
Yeah, it was one of those. The game itself was an amazing game from start to finish, back and forth, both teams, all kinds of yardage, everything, points. And if it was even without the pass, it was an amazing game. That just made it stupid, over the top, and it's a moment that Gerard and I have for life, and that team, that we all are a really close-knit group with text chains and email chains and all that. So it's really it was a bonding experience for those years.
That's amazing. And at a school like Boston College, where it's so hard to get in academically, and maybe there is not as much resources put into the programs, going against like a juggernaut like Miami, and the other ones you had to go against Notre Dame all the time.
We were 2-0 against Alabama in our time.
Wow, that's a big deal.
We were 2-0 against A&M, Alabama, beat Penn State, beat Miami. We had some really it was cool. We were an independent, so we had this awesome schedule. We could play teams from wherever.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
I appreciate Boston College because I believe this is true. Florida State's first national championship game played against Nebraska because Notre Dame, who had beaten Florida State, I think BC beat Notre Dame the week before and it got Nebraska in and got us in, and we won.
BC hit a last-second field goal.
That's right. That's right.
David, and I can't think of his last name, but it was like a pull slice.
Yeah.
He kicked the crap out of it, but he like pulled it towards it and then right down the middle. I was like,
yeah.
Big win.
So I appreciate BC for that. I want to talk about football career, injuries, and recovery. Your career took sort of an unconventional path from USFL, NFL, CFL, back to the league. How did these transitions shape you as a player and as a person?
You know, it made me more and more resilient having to go the path that I went. Initially, I'm a Heisman Trophy winner, but I'm not a guaranteed high round draft. Because of my size. The Buffalo was talking about taking me high, Atlanta maybe, but there was also a team saying I'm going to be a 6th or 7th rounder. So I opted to sign with the USFL, guaranteed money, great contract, and went that route, played for a year, the league ends up falling, and I get back to the NFL, get kind of labeled as a backup quarterback, end up going to Canada to prove myself. All that made me resilient. I mean, the drive, the burning to be successful, and I have a great respect for guys in the league that really had to fight for their opportunities, the smaller guys, the free agent signing, the guy that gets drafted first round and is anointed the starter and plays like crap for 3 years before he finally gets it going. A guy in our position, the second you step on the field, you better play well or you're gone. And Tim DeWhite, a wide receiver, played together.
Yeah. Fast.
Tim and I played in San Diego together, and we're little guys. And it's like we felt like we had to prove ourselves every day, and that's just the way it was. And it's very satisfying. You look back, I played 21 years. I really wouldn't change a thing because I loved my years in Canada. It was so much fun. But it makes you resilient, keeps you fighting. There's down times where, you're in Calgary waking up and it's 20 below zero and you're playing in the CFL and not the NFL and you're wondering, where am I going in this career? But it all has a way of working out.
There's a lesson in that, right? For young people who are watching this, you knew this was your calling, your purpose, your passion. You put a lot of work and effort into it. And just because someone may have closed the door with the league folding and things looking uncertain, didn't mean that the Doug Flutie story wasn't going to stop there. Which
is a hurt, which frustrates me so much with what's going on in college football right now.
Yeah.
With kids that get benched and they go right into the portal and they go over here and they make more money, right? It's like it pays off to get benched and they play I'm not playing, I'm leaving, I'm going here. And there's no loyalty to the team. There's no building of a team together. It's a bunch of mercenaries bouncing around from team to team and just making as much as they can. And the second they see adversity, they run. Adversity is your friend. It builds character. It builds your resilience. And that's how you handle adversity. Makes you make you a man, and it makes you tough.
Yes.
And they don't have to be tough anymore.
Yeah.
They're phenomenal athletes. These kids are unbelievable. But the second adversity shows, they run.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. During your professional journey, you did build that reputation of toughness like we're talking about, yet you did face many injuries. Tell me about your approach to health and recovery early on.
It is amazing that I thought when I was young, it's like I was getting on in my career a little bit. And if I get injured, if I have a major injury, I'll call it quits. I have to have a major surgery. But the second you're injured, all you're thinking about is how do I get back on the field? How quickly can I do it? What do I have to do? Let's go after it. I had Tommy John surgery, and we came up with a protocol on our own kind of thing, working in water and doing this and that and finding a way to get back on the field. Nutrition's obviously a big part of it. It wasn't as big a part when I was young. We were joking.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, my early years of playing in the NFL, I'm driving to the stadium. I stop at McDonald's for breakfast. I'll pick up a pizza at lunch. And they didn't have a catered lunch at the facility at that time. And They didn't have protein shakes and all this set up for you. You know, I always felt I'll eat what I want and I'll run a little harder, work out a little harder. And as I got older, I got a little smarter about it and realized how important, because more than anything, it's the highs and lows. Like you had good days and bad days. Mentally sharp one day, mentally sluggish the next. Drew Brees, when we were in San Diego together towards the end of my career, in his second year, started getting his blood tested and started figuring out what his body was, quote, allergic to and was not, and the nutrition end of it. And that's kind of when that all started.
What was your secret to staying effective? Did you have like a vet that was talking to you about some things? Did you read up on some things, go to conferences, a trainer that kind of pushed it into you?
It was player to player a lot of time. Early in my career with New England in the late 80s as a backup, Steve Grogan was the starting quarterback. And I watched Steve. I watched him how he kind of taught me how to watch film and what to look for and all that. Tom Coughlin was an offensive coordinator of mine in college and taught me more football than any other coach, because you're just taking everything in at that age.
Right.
And I was very fortunate to have mentors along the way that were teaching and taught me how to study for the games.
Yeah. Yeah. No, football is, you know, when people ask me, Dr. Rolle, you know, you've gone on to be a brain surgeon, and do you miss football? And I say, yes, I do, but I think I got out in time. I didn't have as long a career as you did, but I got out in time. So now I'm able to do something post-playing days where I can hopefully save lives and change lives. But I think understanding, you know, that there is life after, and taking care of yourself in the midst of it all gives you that functionality after, so that you can go play golf in the Bahamas and around the country.
I love that. And I'm 63 years old. I played a flag football game last night, slinging the ball all over the place. I'm playing with 20-year-old kids, and I'm impressing them, and I love that moment. It's just, you know, it's like, yeah, guy, how do you do it? And for me, it's just, you can't stop. If you take that time, if you go a year or 2 years without doing it, if you don't use it, you lose it.
That's right.
And I just never quit. I still throw a baseball. I still surf. I still whatever, you know, I'm a jock at heart, but I've always loved, it's always been a challenge to me to stay in shape. I always wanted to be able to do the next activity. And part of the motivation there is, our foundation has a 5K. Okay, I got to be ready for the 5K next month.
Right.
We have numbers for the Boston Marathon and our charity and raise money. So it's like, I got to run the marathon. At least I've run it 4 times now.
Oh, nice.
So I got that carrot sitting out. So I got to stay in shape. I got to run. I got to work out towards that. How do I, of course, beat up my knee in the process. And I did end up having to have surgery. But always having to have something dangling out in front of you to continue to motivate you to stay in shape, to stay healthy, to eat right, or you know, whatever it might be.
Well, I don't want to get too personal into the conversation you and I had on the plane, but I got to let our viewers kind of in to a little bit of this conversation. You did get your knee worked on. You got it done in Boston. Some wonderful surgeons up there, and you were resistant to follow up. You were resistant to, you know, staying off your foot and listening to your doctor. I think a part of that is the toughness and competitiveness. What would you tell our audience who may not be elite athletes like you? Hey, man, you know, you have surgery, you have things that are ailing you. You know, sometimes you gotta follow the path of the medical providers, you know, selfishly, so that you can get healed, and maybe not do what I was doing for my knee. Talk to me about it.
I'm a firm believer in the mental aspect of recovery.
Yeah.
Believing you're going to get healthy in a hurry.
Yeah.
And pushing yourself in every aspect. I had Tommy John surgery. It's supposed to be a 6 to 9 month rehab. I was back on the field in 8 weeks. I had the total knee replacement. I was playing baseball. It's supposed to be a 5 to 9 month rehab. I was playing baseball 5 weeks later.
Oh my God.
I pushed. I did ask my doctor, and we had this conversation, and you said, you heard what you wanted to hear.
Yeah, that's right.
He said, I said to him, because it felt so much better than it did before surgery, like day one. And I'm like, can I walk on this? Can I move? He says, yeah, you can do it. You're not. And the phrase he threw at me was, you're not going to hurt it. In other words, it's cemented in there. It's in place. Now the bone's still got to heal back around it. So I'm like, so day 2, day 3, I start walking, and I'm walking 2 miles and pushing it. And from a protocol standpoint, I probably shouldn't have been doing that. But the first physical therapist comes to the house and says, where is he? And I go, I'm right here. I walked out to the car to meet her. Yeah. And she's like, well, I'm useless. She's here to show me how to get up and down stairs, in and out of a shower, on and off the bed.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I pushed. When I was a kid, I broke my foot at 12 years old. I was on an all-star football team, and the tournament was coming up, and I was supposed to be in the cast for 4 weeks. And like it was 10 days later and we were going to play, I cut the cast off and played.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it just,
Doug.
but here's my take on it is I do believe the key to recovery is being mobile right away, blood circulation. Even if you're not like taxing the actual injury, get on a bike, get the blood flowing, get whatever going. And I really believe that mentally and physically getting your blood, you lay in bed, you're not going to recover fast.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
If you sit in a chair and wait for the knee to feel better, you're not going to get better. That's my philosophy. And then my philosophy is that the more you can do, the better the blood flow, the quicker that's going to heal.
I like that. I do like that. And I encourage my patients to get up out of bed too. They stay in bed. They want to be slugs. They'll never get out of the hospital. They'll never get moving there. Their recovery is so much harder. I want to move into family, autism, and advocacy. You face some personal challenges beyond the field, including losing both of your parents within an hour of each other in 2015. Tell me how that experience shaped your approach to grief and supporting family.
It's amazing. Life throws stuff at you, and you never know when it's coming. And I really believe that my football background, the feeling of losing an important game or being the GOAT, not the way they say GOAT now, but being the GOAT, the one that made the big mistake, and having to deal with those things in a major, hundreds of thousands of fans dependent on you, teammates dependent on you, and you fall short and that loss, and having to deal with that and bounce back. I think that prepares you for life. It really does. Dougie was diagnosed with autism. This gets dealt to you. And because of my back, it was like, okay, where do we go from here? How do we move forward with this? Well, he needs to follow this protocol. We got to get him in this program. What can we do? Okay, let's use Dougie's name and my name to raise money for autism and help other kids. And we've raised over $50 million for autism. My parents' situation was absolutely unbelievable. My dad was ill. My dad had health issues, and we knew he didn't have long. But when he passed, in the hospital, and they call it dying of a broken heart, within 5-10 minutes after my mom has a heart attack, massive heart attack, and she's healthy as a horse. She plays tennis 3 days a week, playing golf, you name it, in her early 70s at the time. And it just, you learn to deal with it. I said earlier, my dad was a hero for us because my parents were always there for us. It's a number one thing as a parent. Don't be the parent that drops your kid off at the game. Don't be the parent that has someone else pick up your kid and go to the game. Be the parent that picks up the other kids, is there. It is so important.
Yeah.
Because my Little League days, that was, Dad was coaching, Mom running the concession stand, in the stands all the time. You want to make them proud of you. They were always there. And all of a sudden, they're not there. And it was hard. It was a shock. It was a realization that now my brothers and I we're the old ones now. We're the next generation. Now we're the men, for my daughter, my son, we have a grandson now. We're at that pinnacle, and there's no one older than you anymore to look up to and ask for advice. So it was difficult. And I was just really happy and it makes you start thinking back of how proud you were of all my mom and dad did at the we have a Flutie Fields down in Melbourne Beach where generation after generation of kid that's come through there and played on these fields. And that's all because my dad started that Little League down there. That it's named after our family, and they were a big part of that, and they affected so many other lives.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. You touched on your son, Dougie Jr., going through his autism battle. Tell me what went through your mind when you did receive that. Obviously, you turned that tragedy into support, advocacy, $50 million, to support kids like your son. What went through your mind as a dad? Did you feel like you were inept or deficient or failure? Did you blame yourself, blame society? How'd you feel about it?
It was a shock. And you have a son, and he'd sit on my lap and watch basketball. Loved basketball. Shot in his. My nephew taught him to leave the hand out there hanging, and he'd say money, sheep. And so, you have all these aspirations, things. Oh yeah, he's going to be a good little athlete. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. And you just shift your goals. It's like, okay. And you really think it's just a phase, honestly. And it's not denial. It's just, you're seeing it slowly regress, and you're like, this is a phase he's going through, because what's there. His personality already. It was there a couple months ago.
That's right.
So that was the frustrating part, is because we know what's inside there, and we know how did this disconnect happen? What happened? So that's the frustrating part of it. But, like I said, right away, you got to alter your expectations. And is now, he would just assume trip over a toy before picking it up at that time. And now he's at the point where he has favorite toys. He horseback rides. He's in a pool. He can tread water on his own. He does some activities, but he's extremely low functioning, still nonverbal. And so, that part is frustrating and disappointing. I don't know that I look at us as a parent that we did anything that affected it, that caused it. It's taking the hand you're dealt and dealing with it and moving forward, which is the adversity I talked about earlier, that the kids today are avoided. A lot of times, anything that is uncomfortable, a lot of them, they're protected from and don't have to deal with and move over here.
Yeah. I look at that story just from the outside looking in. Obviously, I'm not into it like you are with your son and your family, but your success that you've been able to accrue over your life, the people that have been able to become fans of yours and love you and support you for what you were able to do on the field and how you made them feel, all of that social capital that you're able to build because of a God-given ability. Now, when you're faced with this, this stark issue that happened to your own immediate family, now able to bring awareness and use that voice on your platform for people who hear the name Doug Flutie. Like, again, I'm tapping my wife, like, that's Doug Flutie right there. To feel that vibe. I saw people taking pictures of you on the plane, like that platform to shift that energy. Say, you know what? I'm glad you loved me because of what I was able to do, but let's shift this focus on autism and people like my son, who are beautiful humans and beautiful spirits, but some other kids around the world may be facing the same thing. It's really a special thing.
Well, thank you. And it's really cool for us to see the effect Dougie and our family has had for other kids. We have a group called Spectrum of Sound, a lot of young kids with autism that have special talents, can sing, can play guitar, and we've given them a platform, and they're little rock stars now. Like, some of them have recording contracts. They put out an album. It's fun to launch these other kids and give them a platform to express themselves and it's very satisfying. And for me, I thought, my football was life, and I played 21 years professionally. I thought that's my career work. I really did. And now that you look at it, we've already been doing the foundation for 27 years, hopefully another 20, 30, whatever. And my daughter could carry it on after we're gone, but that's going to be our life work.
Yeah,
it really is.
That's awesome. That's awesome. One last question for you. What's next, right? I mean, I see, you're obviously really well involved with advocacy, with pushing agendas, with changing communities. You keep yourself physically in shape and continue to work. You're out here Super Bowl week and doing outstanding things in the community here as well. If you can sort of prognosticate the next 10, 15 years for Doug Flutie, what does that look like for you?
It's amazing. I keep telling myself I'm gonna pull back, retire, surf, be at the beach, and have fun. And it seems like I'm getting on a plane more often than ever. It's like you're still doing. The one area, for us, I don't know. I really think the foundation is going to be our life, and that the next step in that world, in the world of autism, is there's been a whole generation that's grown up where the numbers have escalated and gone through the roof, and now adult assisted living is the next important step in that, of this whole generation of children with autism that have become adults, and trying to let them live independent, full lives. And that's the next step in that world, and that will become a big part of our foundation.
Look, from starting off in your young years, the love that your parents have shown you, and that is honestly, we have young kids, we're new parents to our kids. That advice was helpful for me. My wife's listening on the back. So, we're hearing it. We got to show up. Don't drop our kids off. Show up like your parents did. That's a big, even though we're busy, right? She's a pediatric dentist and I'm a neurosurgeon. Got to show up and be there. Because, look, you remember it. You remember right now.
They know when you're in the stands and sitting there and watching, and they, they want you to be proud of them.
Yeah, no doubt. But from that to the Heisman Trophy, to pro ball, to using your voice post-career, to being an advocate, you are a special human, Doug Flutie, and I appreciate you for being on Health is Wealth with me.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, brother.
All right.
Thank you.